In him, all the fullness of God was pleased to dwell. The full deity of God, not part of the deity, all of the deity. Christ is fully God. Now, I can't move on but also bring in Colossians 2:9 here, because here in Colossians 1:19, we have a past tense verb, was pleased. So the significance of this phrase, this is referring to his incarnation, and Paul is explicitly saying that in his incarnation, the fullness of deity was pleased to dwell. So we can't in any way think that the fullness of deity somehow left him, somehow was minimized, given up. He didn't empty himself of all but love. We're going to sing that hymn in a moment, but we changed that phrase in our hymnal. He didn't empty himself of anything. No, he did not give up any of his deity. Paul is explicitly saying this, past tense, referring to the time in which he was living on earth in flesh. At that time, all deity dwelt within him. Then bring in also Colossians 2:9, a very similar phrase, but now present tense with the addition of an emphasis on bodily. Colossians 2:9, in him the whole fullness of deity dwells, present tense, bodily. So that's emphasizing the fact that Jesus is still incarnate, will always be incarnate, will always be, we'll talk about this in a few moments, a theanthropic person, theos, God, anthropos, a God-man, and the fullness of deity continues to dwell in him bodily. So both are true. If only one or the other of the statements were there, we might be tempted just to think one or the other. If only Colossians 2:9 were there, we might be tempted to think that while he was on earth, somehow the fullness of deity did not dwell in him. But no, 1:19, in him the fullness of deity was pleased to dwell. If only Colossians 1:19 were in the Bible, we might question whether he is still human. Maybe he gave up his humanity and became God again. No, continues to be true that in him, Colossians 2:9, the whole fullness of deity dwells bodily. Paul emphasizes bodily there. Obviously, Colossians 1:19, he did not need to say bodily because of the past tense. Obviously, he's referring to when Christ was on earth. But in Colossians 2:9, because he is using the present tense, he has to add that word bodily to make sure that we understand that Christ still retains his human nature and body.